Hello, welcome to the second video in a series of videos on Cormac McCarthy's The Road. In this video I'm going to look at a couple of passages from the first section in the novel. In the opening section until about page 48-49, before the two main protagonists encounter others along the road, Cormac McCarthy is really engaging in two or three things. First thing he's engaging in is world building. There are many passages here that are very evocative of a world that has undergone some catastrophe. Okay. The second thing really that McCarthy is concentrating on in this opening section is delineating the characters, the father and the son, and giving us some early insight into the father-son relationship. That is the emotional core of the novel. Okay. One thing, and the final thing that he's also doing here in the first section is he's introducing some themes. Okay. Some of the major themes that he wants to think about and work through in the rest of the novel. So in this video I'm going to look at a couple of passages that I think are important and interesting early in the novel. Here's the first one. With the first grey light, he rose and left the boy sleeping and walked out to the road and squatted and studied the country to the south. Barren, silent, godless. He thought the month was October, but he wasn't sure. He hadn't kept a calendar for years. They were moving south. There'd be no surviving another winter here. So this is from the point of view of the father. And the novel adopts the father's point of view quite often. And here we get to see things through his perspective. What does he see? When he looks out, he sees a world that's barren, silent, godless. It's lifeless. Nothing is growing, no growth, no vegetation. There's no life. There are no birds in the sky, no fish in the seas. And from the father's perspective, it seems to be a world without a God. Okay. Now, looks like the catastrophe has been a couple of years. Okay. The father is uncertain of the time, what year it is, and what month it is. But what he's sure is of this one thing. The characters, the father and son, need to move south. And what they really need is to survive. This is their motivation. Okay. South means warmth and possible safety. When it was light enough to use the binoculars, he glassed the valley below, everything paling away into the murk, the soft ash blowing in loose swirls over the black top. He studied what he could see, the segments of road down there among the dead trees, looking for anything of colour, any movement, any trace of standing smoke. So what we notice about the father is his vigilance. Okay, he's hyper-vigilant. He studies the countryside. He wants to see if there's any movement, if there's any other survivors on the road. He lowered the glasses and pulled down the cotton mask from his face and wiped his nose on the back of his wrist. And then he glassed the country again. Just to make sure. Then he just sat there holding the binoculars and watching the ashen daylight congeal over the land. He knew only that the child was his warrant. He said, if he is not the word of God, God never spoke. So, this gives us insight into the father. Okay. We see how careful he is. So careful. Okay. He must be careful. He can't make a mistake. A mistake might mean that. Okay. These two sentences are very important. Okay. This word is important. A warrant means like a justification. So the child is the man's justification. In other words, his reason for going on. Okay? The child is the father's reason for surviving. For survival. His reason for living. For continuing down the road. He said, if he is not the word of God, God never spoke. So for the father, a boy represents purity, hope, possibly salvation in his goodness. Amidst the rest of the world, the child is good. And father's reason for continuing is to keep his child safe. When he got back, the boy was still asleep. He pulled the blue plastic tarp off of him and folded it and carried it out to the grocery cart and packed it and came back with their plates and some cornmeal cakes in a plastic bag and a plastic bottle of syrup. He spread the small tarp they used for a table on the ground and laid everything out, and he took the pistol from his belt and laid it on the cloth, and then he just sat watching the boy sleep. He pulled away his mask in the night and it was buried somewhere in the blankets. He watched the boy and he looked out through the trees towards the road. This was not a safe place. They could be seen from the road. Now it was day. The boy turned in the blankets. Then he opened his eyes. "Hi, Papa," he said. "I'm right here." I know. So these are the first words of the characters. Notice what the father says. His words are ones of comfort and assurance. The son knows the father will be there for him. He has all his trust in his father. I know you will be there. But this is not a safe place. And that's why the father is being so careful. Now, something else here that's kind of important. Notice the level of care and attention to detail that the father goes through here in spreading out the tarp for the table and the cakes and the cloth. He wants everything just right. He wants to give his son some comfort and some normalcy in this world. Next section I need to go to, a couple of pages along, and again there's dialogue that's revealing of the character and their motivation. He was a long time going to sleep. After a while he turned and looked at the man. His face in the small light streaked with black from the rain like some old world thespian. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Yes, of course." "Are we going to die?" "Sometime." Not now. And we're still going south? Yes. So we'll be warm. Yes. Okay. Okay what? Nothing. Just okay. Go to sleep. Okay. I'm going to blow out the lamp. Is that okay? Yes, that's okay. And then later in the darkness, can I ask you something? Yes, of course you can. What would you do if I died? If you died, I would want to die too. So you could be with me? Yes, so I could be with you. Okay. So here, McCarthy uses dialogue quite expertly to reveal aspects of the character's motivation, such as the father's deep love for his son. And the son's profound trust in his father. Notice how honest the father is. Also, notice how perceptive the son is. Keeping in mind the child is very young, he is very conscious of death here. So, this is quite interesting. This is a very honest admission by the father. Basically, without the boy, the father would lose his warrant. Okay, his justification for continuing to live. He lay listening to the water drip in the woods. Bedrock, this, the cold and the silence. The ashes of the late world carried on the bleak and temporal winds to and fro in the void. Ashes are a recurring motif. They are the remnants of the civilization that has been burnt, but remains in the form of ashes scattered to and fro in a void. Carried forth and scattered and carried forth again. Everything uncoupled from its shoring. Everything unmoored. Everything has become unsupported or unstable in the ashen air. So what we have here is a recognition of the loss of stability in this new world. Civilization has been reduced to ruins. And it breaks the father's heart. Next section. Quite a nice moment, tender moment. Father and the son go to a supermarket, and amongst rubbish and litter there is a vending machine. The father puts in his hand and he finds Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola provides a moment of intimacy between the father and the son here. So, what is it, Papa? It's a treat for you. What is it? Here, sit down. He slipped the boy's knapsack straps loose and set the pack on the floor behind him, and he put his thumbnail under the aluminium clip on the top of the can and opened it. He leaned his nose to the slight fizz coming from the can and then handed it to the boy. "Go ahead," he said. The boy took the can. "It's bubbly," he said. "Go ahead." He looked at his father and then tilted the can and drank. He sat there thinking about it. "It's really good," he said. "Yes, it is. You have some, Papa. I want you to drink it." So, Coca-Cola here is kind of a symbol. And it's a symbol of what? Well, it's a symbol of intimacy, of affection. In a sense, it allows the father to share with his son something of the past. It's a treat. And what's really important is this provides a moment which the father is able to treat his son. Okay, and they share a nice, intimate moment. This is what the father wants from his son, that he have some good times. It shows the father to be very generous, very kind and loving. But notice how the son is also kind. He also wants to share with his father. And also over here, the son says something quite interesting. He says, "It's because I won't ever get to drink another one, isn't it?" Ever's a long time. Okay, the boy said. It's quite a perceptive remark from the son. Okay? And it shows us that he's aware of how difficult life along the road is. But as the father said, ever's a long time. Meaning, you need to keep hope. Okay, but there will be another time. Even in the most desperate of situations, keep hope, keep faith. Next section I want to very quickly look at is here on page 28. In those first years, the roads were people with refugees, shrouded up in their clothing, wearing masks and goggles, sitting in their rags by the side of the road like ruined aviators, their barrows heaped with shoddy, towing wagons or carts, their eyes bright in their skulls, creedless shells of men tottering down the causeways like migrants in a feverland. The frailty of everything revealed at last. Old and troubling issues resolved into nothingness and night. The last instance of a thing takes a class with it, turns out the light, and is gone. Look around you. Ever is a long time, but the boy knew what he knew, that ever is no time at all. So here we have a little bit of analepsis, flashback, which provides narrative exposition for the plot. So we find out that at the beginning of the catastrophe, there were still people. They were just displaced. Refugees, having to wear masks and goggles for protection. environment has obviously undergone some catastrophic event. And basically, people are left totally devastated with their shoddy belongings, which are now rendered worthless. They have a fight on their hands to stay alive. They're rendered here as creedless shells of men, tottering down the causeways like migrants in a feverland. So these people have lost their beliefs, lost their fate. They're now creedless. And this is a super important sentence, because in this moment of catastrophe and crisis, the frailty of everything is revealed at last. Old and troubling issues resolved into nothingness and night. Things that seemed important no longer are important. Everything has become unstable. But the boy knew what he knew, that ever is no time at all. The boy knows no stability. He knows only this world. The world of the novel. He knows only the world of the novel. And herein lies the paradox, because he's born into a world that's pretty dark, in which there seems little to no morality, and yet he is inherently good. He is moral. And it's from within this that McCarthy generates some interesting themes in the novel. So that's it for this video. What I wanted to do here is just have a quick look at some important passages from the opening part of The Road, and to determine what it shows us about the world that McCarthy has built, what it tells us about the characters of the father and the son, their relationship and interdependence, and to get a sense of some of the themes that McCarthy is introducing at the beginning of the novel.